Hi everybody, Johnny here. I hope you're doing great today. More good math for you at jmathpage.com. You'll find lots there. Today, we're thinking about multiplying 8's. And we're going to be thinking about it using an array. So maybe you've seen this before. Maybe you've seen something like 1 times 8, 2 times 8, 3 times 8, 4 times 8, 5 times 8, 6 times 8, 7 times 8, 8 times 8, 9 times 8, and 10 times 8. And it might be your 8's table, and you're trying to understand them better. So today we're going to use an array to do that. All right? So first off, I want to build an array. So when I think about 1 times 8 in terms of an array, I want to think about things in terms of rows and columns. An array is a way of organizing information so you see things in relation to other things in terms of rows and columns. So since we're thinking about 8's today, I want to make 8 rows. So I'll get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more, 8. So let's make sure we have them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 rows. Okay. How many columns should we have? Well, if we're doing 8's here, we see that we're going from 1 to 10 here. So let's try that out. Ready? This is a column, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's count them to be sure. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 columns. Oops, let me fix that. 10 columns. Okay. Now an array is always built of columns and rows. How does that help us with what's happening over here? Well, we can think about the numbers here. We can think about the 1 as a number of columns, and we have our 8 rows. So let's work with that right now. If I see 1 times 8, I want to know what happens when I have one column crossing 8 rows. Okay? So here's one column, and it keeps crossing all these rows, and every time it crosses, it makes an intersection. Okay, so let's see what happens now. If I go one column, I see I have an intersection here, 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 all the way down. And since I have 8 rows, I know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 intersections. So I can say that 1 times 8 gives us 8 intersections. What about 2 times 8? Well, that means I have 8 rows, 2 columns, or 2 columns, 8 rows. Well, here is a second column, so let's add all of these intersections. Okay, I had 8 before, now I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or if I count on, I've got 8 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 intersections altogether. Okay, so you can see, and I could be counting by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 intersections. So 2 columns and 8 rows gives us 16 intersections. What about 3 columns, 8 rows, or 8 rows and 3 columns? Well, let's add on the next one. Here's our third column. Okay, so I'm adding on all the intersections that go along here. Okay, now that I have this, I have 16, let's add them on. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so 3 columns and 8 rows gives us 24 intersections. What about 4 times 8? So 4 columns, 8 rows. Here's the 4th column. Let's go ahead and add these intersections. So I had 24, let's add them on. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay, so 4 times 8 equals 32. Well, we have 32 intersections when we have 4 columns and 8 rows. Let's go on to 5 times 8. 5 columns, 8 rows. Here's our 5th column. Let's add all our intersections in. Now, as before, I have 32. If I add on these 8 more, 32 and 8 more will give us 40. So I know that 5 times 8, or 5 columns and 8 rows, will give us 40 intersections. And 6 times 8, 6 columns, 8 rows. Here's our 6th column. Let's go ahead and add all of these intersections. Okay, I had 40 before, now I'm adding 8 more, so this should take me to 48. Now I have 48 intersections altogether. So that tells us that 6 columns and 8 rows gives us 48 intersections altogether. Now I'm looking at 7 times 8, so 7 columns and 8 rows. Here's our 7th column. Let's go ahead and add these intersections. Now I'm looking at, I had 48 before. If I add on 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56. So I have 56 intersections all together here. So I know 7 columns and 8 rows will give us 56 intersections. What about 8 times 8? Well, here's our 8th column. Let's go ahead and add our intersections. 56 and 8 more, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64. So 64 altogether. So we know that 8 columns and 8 rows will give us 64 intersections. What about 9 times 8? Well, here's our 9th column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more intersections. 64 and 8 more will take us to 72. So 9 times 8, or 9 columns and 8 rows, gives us 72 intersections. What about 10 times 8? 10 columns and 8 rows. 10 columns, 8 rows. Let's go ahead and add these in. Okay. Now I had 72 intersections before. If I add 8 more, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80. Now I have 80 intersections. Alright, so we know that 10 columns and 8 rows gives us 80 intersections. Now let's look across here. These are our multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. You can see them here as well. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. Well, the array really shows us how numbers are multiplied. You can see how the 8's are being added again and again and again across the columns. And it's one way of thinking about multiplication. Now I'm going to take these numbers away, and I want you to think about them for yourself. Okay? So say goodbye to 8 and 16, 24 and 32. Say goodbye to 40, 48, 56 and 64. And say goodbye to 72 and 80. All right, now I'm going to ask you each one of these, and I want you to say it for yourself, all right? So 1 times 8, what do you think that is? 2 times 8, what do you think that is? Maybe you want to look at the array to help you. 3 times 8 equals. 4 times 8 equals. 5 times 8 equals. 6 times 8 equals. 7 times 8 equals. 8 times 8 equals. 9 times 8 equals. 10 times 8 equals. Okay, I hope you did well. Now I'm going to mix them up. Are you ready? 1 times 8 equals. 10 times 8 equals. 2 times 8 equals. 9 times 8 equals. 3 times 8 equals. 8 times 8 equals. 4 times 8 equals. 7 times 8 equals. 5 times 8 equals. 6 times 8 equals. How'd you do? Let's remember them now, okay? 1 times 8 is equal to 8. 2 times 8 equals 16. 3 times 8 equals 24. 4 times 8 equals 32. 5 times 8 equals 40. 6 times 8 equals 48. 7 times 8 equals 56. 8 times 8 equals 64. 9 times 8 equals 72. And 10 times 8 equals 80. Just like we have in the array here. Now remember, an array is an arrangement of columns and rows that helps us to understand multiplication better. All the times that columns and rows intersect can tell you some multiple of some number. All right? Hope this was helpful to you.